Born in 1927 in Nice, France, Simone Veil lived through one of the darkest chapters in human history. At just 16 years old, she was deported to Auschwitz with her family. She survived, but most of her loved ones did not. Yet, this is not only a story of suffering, it's a story of strength. After the war, she rebuilt her life. She became a lawyer, a politician, and a champion for women's rights. In this documentary, I'll take you through her life, her legacy, and why her voice still matters today. In March 1944, Simone Jacob, her pre-wedding surname, was arrested by the Gestapo in Nice. She had just passed her final high school exam, the baccalaureate. A few days later, she was deported to Auschwitz, along with her mother and her sister. Her father and brother were sent elsewhere. They never returned. The train journey lasted several days. They were locked in cattle cars with no food, no water, no air. When they finally arrived, they shouted in the camp, orders in German, confusion, fear. They didn't know what was waiting for them. At the gates of Auschwitz, they were separated, men from women, the old from the young. Most were sent straight to the gas chambers. Simone, her mother, and her sister were chosen for forced labor. The Nazis tattooed a number on her arm, 7865. That number became her identity. Her name was taken away. In the camp registers, every Jewish woman was given the first name Sarah. It wasn't just administration. It was a tool to erase their identity. Life in Auschwitz was a constant fight to survive. Every day started before sunrise, long walkouts, and freezing cold. Food was almost nothing. Water, soup, a crust of bread. Simone faced hunger, disease, violence, and death every day. Her mother grew weaker and eventually died in broken bones. And yet Simone refused to give up and to lose her sense of self. She comforted others. She held onto her dignity. In April 1945, British troops liberated Bergen-Belsen. Simone was only 17 years old. She had survived, but the loss was overwhelming. Her mother, father, and brother were all gone. After the war, Simone went to Switzerland, alone, scarred, and grieving. She was only 17 years old, and her world completely changed. But she made a decision. She would not let the Nazis define her future. Simone resumed her education and began studying law and political science in Paris at Sciences Po. She was one of the few women in her class. That's where she met Antoine Veil, a young man studying economics. They fell in love quickly and married in 1946, when Simone was only 19 years old. Together they had 3 sons, Jean, Nicolas, and Pierre-François. In the early 1950s, she passed the national exam to become a magistrate, a kind of judge in the French legal system. She began working in the Ministry of Justice, where she focused on improving the treatment of female prisoners. She pushed for better hygiene conditions, access to education, and protection, especially for young girls in detention. She lived with her family in Paris, balancing her career with motherhood, something rare for women at the time. Her experiences in war shaped everything she did, but they never broke her. In 1974, Simone Veil was appointed Minister of Health in France, the first woman to ever hold that position under a center-right governor. Almost immediately, she took on 2 of the most controversial reforms of her time. First, she expanded access to contraception, especially for young women. She believed women had the right to control their own bodies, their own futures. But it was a second law that would make history. In November 1974, she stood before the French National Assembly to defend a bill that would legalize abortion. The debate was brutal. She faced insults, slander, even comparisons to Nazis, from men who had never experienced rape, poverty, or teenage pregnancy. But Simone Veil stood firm. On January 17, 1975, the law Veil was passed. Abortion became legal under strict conditions. She never saw this as promoting abortion, but as defending dignity, health, and freedom of choice. Later, she helped push anti-smoking laws, including banning smoking in public places. But what made her truly extraordinary is what we learn in her memoir, her life. She actually never felt powerful. She never enjoyed politics. What kept her going was responsibility and the memory of those who couldn't speak. In 1979, she reached a new milestone. Simone Veil became the first female president of the European Parliament, elected by direct vote. Slowly, she became more than a politician. She became a symbol of modern France, of women's rights, of European unity. Her face, her name, her values, they would become known far beyond the borders of France. In the 90s, she returned briefly to the French government as Minister of State under Prime Minister Edouard Balladur. Later, in 1998, she was appointed to the French Constitutional Council, one of the highest legal bodies in the country. Throughout her life, she received countless honors. She was awarded the Grand Cross of the Légion d'honneur. She also received honorary doctorates or PhD from major universities across Europe. Schools, libraries, and public buildings were named after her, even while she was alive. Until her final days, she continued to speak publicly about the Holocaust, the importance of memory, and the dangers of intolerance. When she passed away on June 30, 2017, France mourned as if a queen had died. A year later, her coffin was carried into the Panthéon. She became the only fifth woman in history to receive this honor. Buried alongside her husband Antoine, her name today stands for more than politics. It stands for memory, for justice, peace, and for the idea that no woman and no human being should ever be treated as less than whole. I didn't choose this book just because it tells a story. A life is not just a book, it's a testimony. In a world where voices are being silenced again, where someone to push us backwards, to take away our rights, erase memories, or rewrite history, we need to remember people like Simone Veil. Because remembering gives us strength, it gives us direction, and most of all, it gives us hope. Hope that even when everything seems impossible, the world can change, but only if we refuse together